we're good to go. Okay, I believe we're live now.
Awesome.
Welcome, everybody. I guess I should start by introducing myself because people don't see my face very often. So I'm Megan Greer. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Saskatoon Symphony, and I'm here to pick Mark's brain about season 93.
Yes, and it's kind of hard to believe because this was a season that some of these projects actually started being planned prior to the pandemic, but it's our first season without pandemic do-overs. So that's actually kind of a nice experience to have, where we're not reprogramming something we had to cancel at some point. So you know, a few seasons in, we're finally getting to new stuff again.
Yeah, no longer playing catch up. So Mark, do you want to introduce yourself for the people who might not know about you?
Yes, I'm Mark Turner. I'm the CEO and creative producer of the Saskatoon Symphony Orchestra. I have been here 9 years now. This is my 10th season that I get to produce this fall, and it's been really exciting to be able to bring this to life, particularly because I think that this is the best season the SSO has ever programmed. And I don't say that every year. I said it this past year, and I stood by it then, and I thought it was brilliant then, and I think next year's is even better.
Well, I might also be biased, but I agree.
Let's jump in.
Yes, let's. So oh yeah, go ahead. Oh yes, thank you for putting together this visual presentation for us as well. Actually, let's talk a little bit about the look for season 93, because that's something you and I talked about quite a bit, starting even last fall. Your words to me were you wanted electric, you wanted vibrancy, you wanted movement, and I think we captured that.
You definitely did capture that. When I said electricity, movement, excitement, and colorful, you really got what I was going for. So
yeah, it's a good part of my job, I have to admit, is translating Mark. Yeah, bringing your vision to life. So I'm glad I caught that. And I would also like to point out that this year we kept big music for big emotions. And why was that important to you?
You know, one of the things that when big music for big emotions kind of came to us, which was almost kind of in 2021, when we first started kind of mapping out the current season we're in, season 92, was because, you know, as we learned about how people or why people came to the symphony, it's because this is big, powerful music. No one comes to the symphony to have a nice afternoon or say, well, that was a really nice concert last night. People come to be deeply moved by the bigger emotions in life. You know, it's not just happiness; it's absolute joy. It's not just sadness. It's the darks of the human soul. So. Orchestras really get to do these incredible things when they are in full flight, and so that it is big music, quite literally, for big emotions. So we kind of kept in that mood for this coming season. So it made sense to keep going with this idea that resonated with a lot of the audience.
Mm-hmm. And I think resonated with us in the office as well. Well, yeah. Nothing is bigger, I think, than the moon. And so we start our season with a large installation, which I don't know if the symphony's ever done anything like this before. But how does one get the moon to come to you?
Well, you know, one of our staff, Natal, who is the director of administration here, had seen an installation of the Museum of the Moon. I had some family who'd seen it as well. And, you know, we keep telling people we're bringing the moon to Saskatoon. It's hard to explain. You're right. The symphony's never done anything like this. In fact, no orchestra in Canada has ever done anything quite like this. So rather than me trying to explain what the moon is, we're going to listen to the artist Luke Jerram, who can explain that for us.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
It's the middle of the day and it's a beautiful sunny day outside, but in there it's dark, kind of blue. It feels like nighttime. Got families lying down, just watching it with their kids. It's a very different atmosphere to the outside world right now.
As I came in, my first reaction was wow, absolutely wow. And then also the surroundings of the Great Hall, and to see the people all enjoying themselves and finding it interesting.
I didn't expect to see people laying on the floor, just chilling out, which is quite nice.
The idea behind the Museum of the Moon actually came from living in Bristol. Bristol's got the second highest tidal range in the whole of Europe. So there's a 13-metre gap between high tide and low tide, and it's the moon that's making that happen. The amazing thing about the moon is it acts as a cultural mirror. So every culture has different stories and mythologies and stories to tell about the moon.
The more you let your eyes just sit and focus on it, the more it looks real.
It was amazing.
You thought it was amazing, did you?
Yeah.
Why did you think it was so amazing?
Because there was aliens.
Because there were aliens.
And it was very exciting and a very uplifting visual experience.
It was really big.
Was it? What did you like about it?
It had lots of craters on.
Did it? And what did it feel like when you were underneath?
It felt like it was falling on us.
Did it? Did it really? I thought it was very peaceful and calming.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. I think it's got this incredible, there's such a simplicity to the idea, but it's got this amazing imposing nature, and it's just exquisitely delivered. I think it's a great piece.
It's the fact they've got the imagination going, it's fantastic, you know? It's really good.
I actually saw aliens.
You did see aliens, okay. She saw the aliens.
Thankfully, when we do it, there will be no aliens.
Oh, really? I was looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
no, I've checked. So we do bring Luke Derham's Museum of the Moon to Saskatoon next year. We're presenting it at the beautiful and historic St. John's Cathedral. St. John's, has I think they're 111 years old now, and it's a pretty impressive space that we got to call home for a year during the pandemic, where we live streamed everything. And this idea actually came to us then to bring the moon and present it inside St. John's. And as part of that, we actually opened that experience on September 16th, September 16th.
Yeah, 16 and 17.
With A Night Under the Moon with the Four Seasons. Now, it's not Vivaldi's Four Seasons, except it is. So Maestra Judith Yan will be back on the podium that night, and we have Saskatoon's very own Veronique Mathieu, who is the David Kaplan Chair of Music at the university's music department. And we're thrilled to have Veronique do this. Now, I apologize to Veronique. She keeps playing Four Seasons with us. So she's done the Vivaldi Four Seasons, the Piazzolla Four Seasons, and now the unbelievable recomposed Four Seasons by composer Max Richter. Richter actually took the music of Vivaldi and recomposed it for modern ears. So he, the bones are there. You can obviously tell it's Vivaldi, and then you accidentally get lost in this new soundscape that he creates. It's incredibly pleasing. If you love the original Four Seasons, you're going to love this, potentially even more, frankly. It is really a remarkable piece of art that we're thrilled to finally bring here. It's about 10 years old. And opening that night, actually, we have one of our very own, Erin Brophy, is going to be performing on English horn. Usually she's, of course, our principal oboe, but she's doing Kenneth Fuchs's Eventide, which is music about, the fact that the tides go in and out. And of course, tides are actually controlled by the moon. So true. It's going to be a pretty spectacular night. We do have 2 concerts booked because, St. John's is going to be full for those.
Yeah, it's a bit of a smaller venue, but it'll be a beautiful, intimate experience with the moon overhead. What could go wrong?
Correct.
And then keep watch this summer because we'll probably be announcing a few more surprises with the moon. So
yeah, we've got a couple of things that are in the works, and some things we can't quite announce yet. There is going to essentially be some music under the moon every single night that week, but the moon will actually be open to the public throughout that entire week from the 16th all the way to the 23rd. And it'll be, if you don't come to one of the concert events, one of the ticketed events, you can actually come and see the moon just for donation at the door. So it's affordable, it's accessible, it is spectacular. I can't wait. It's 8 meters in diameter, so it's going to be a big moon.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing experience. After that, we head to the main stage. So this is a bit of a different start for us. Usually we start with a main stage show. Now we're moving on to TCU to do Rachmaninoff Romance. And this year, 2023, is the 150th anniversary of Rachmaninoff's birth, I believe, correct?
Yeah, it was just last week.
Oh, wow. Wow. So unfortunately, we couldn't throw in another Rachmaninoff concert this season, but we've got a really great one lined up for the fall. So we want to tell us about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so this was we actually have 2 Rachmaninoff experiences this fall. It is a weird fall because we don't start things off at TCU Place. So we don't get into TCU Place until later into October with our opening night of the Master Series.
October 21st, yeah.
Yeah, and it was really exciting because we wanted to showcase some Rachmaninoff, and to do that, we have been itching for an excuse to work with the incredible Lucille Chung, who's on your screen right now. Lucille is a Canadian-born pianist who calls the United States home. She is one half of the exceptional piano duo Bax and Chung. Alessio Bax, who's also an international superstar, is her husband. And Lucille is such an incredible artist that we've never had here in Saskatoon. And we wrote to her, got in touch with her, and wanted to find a great project for her. And this was a perfect fit because she hadn't played the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on a Theme of the Paganini Variations since she was a teenager. She's never done it in a professional concert. And so she's been itching to find an orchestra to ask her to do it. And I said, well, let's just do it. So she's joining us. And on the podium for that concert, we're really excited, is the conductor Yu Bao. Now, Yu is making her SSO debut, and that doesn't mean a whole lot in her calendar because this season she also makes debuts with Boston Symphony, Seattle Symphony. She is one of the great rising stars of the classical music world. So we're really thrilled to have Yu coming. That
sounds like quite the dynamic duo.
It is, and you has paired some pretty cool stuff with it, because in the second half of the concert we've got Dvorak's lush and romantic 7th Symphony, and so it's going to be a pretty fascinating concert.
That sounds like a great way to start our year at TCU Place for sure.
I agree.
The next week, actually, October 28th, we shift gears a little bit again at TCU Place, and we're doing A Case of You. Sarah Slean sings the music of Joni Mitchell. I am very excited for this concert.
You missed it last time.
I did. I wasn't living in town, so I am looking forward to experience it in person.
So and it's a different concert this time around. So in 2018, the SSO was able to do the very first ever live performance of the orchestral music of Joni Mitchell. These are orchestral takes on Joni Mitchell classics that she did in a recording in the early 2000s with collaborator Vince Mendoza. Vince orchestrated all these pieces and created new landscapes for these incredible pieces of music. So last time Vince was here, it took me 4 years to convince him to do that show. It took much less convincing this time around, because once he was here last time, he said, there's other music that we didn't get to do. So we've been kicking it around for a few years. This was the perfect opportunity because this fall on November, I believe it's November 5th or 6th, Joni turns 80. So this is a great celebration of her time. And it features hits like A Case of You and Both Sides Now, which we were able to do in the last show, but it also features pieces we weren't able to do in the last show, including Circle Game. But more importantly, Vince and Joni actually gave us permission to do a handful of songs that were orchestrated for the Travelogue recording session that weren't recorded. So Vince had done arrangements of things that they thought they might want to put on the CD. And 2 of the songs that we get to do from that were scrapped because Joni said, I've done them enough times. And that's her famous hits, River and Blue.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it's an incredible opportunity for this music to be heard right here in her hometown to celebrate Joni.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And yeah, if you guys are fans of Joni Mitchell or even just love the Both Sides Now and Travelogue albums, you're in for a treat. And Sarah Slean did an amazing job. She does an amazing job every time she comes and sings with us, but it's just so beautiful to hear her singing Joni's music.
And when she, that was the first show of this music, and now Sarah's gone on to do it a lot of times. Vince has gone on to do it a lot of times. In fact, that show that we've built with Vince has now been done by, I thought it was 29 orchestras. Vince corrected me the other day. It's 37 orchestras across North America. And it's being done by 2 orchestras in Europe this year. So that was a project that the Saskatoon Symphony built and is now going off all over the world. So we're thrilled to bring this new set of music to life to celebrate Joni.
That's absolutely fantastic. Can't wait for that one. Then our next concert after that is end of November, November 25th. We're going back to celebrate some more Rachmaninoff.
Yes, Robert Franz, who's a great American conductor. He's the music director of the Windsor Symphony Orchestra in Ontario. Robert, we've been wanting to have Robert out for a long time, and when he was able to fit this into his schedule, he wanted to do something. He's been really focused on this Rachmaninoff celebration. He suggested the Rachmaninoff symphonic dances. We haven't done them in forever, so it was time to pull those out, and we're thrilled to have Rob coming to do them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I was going to say the photo is a little bit deceptive. There's no saxophone in Rachmaninoff dances. Yes, well, that's also not Robert.
There is saxophone.
Oh, in the well, I apologize.
Dances. Yes, this is one of the reasons it actually worked perfectly, because on that show, the real big highlight of that show is the artist on the screen right now, which is Timothy McAllister. Timothy is considered to be the greatest sax artist alive today. And we're thrilled to actually have him come and perform with us. He literally last week, he did New York Philharmonic. The week before, he was in Houston with the symphony there. He's performed with every major orchestra in the world. And he's coming here to premiere a brand new piece by our friend Vincent Ho. Vince's music has been on our stage a lot in my time here at the SSO. He lives in Calgary. He's one of the brightest lights in Canadian classical music. It's so energetic. It's so lively. We started talking to Vince about commissioning him to write a new work, and this is what came to life, is this incredible saxophone concerto. And it's extra cool because it's actually based on research done here at the University of Saskatchewan about how songbirds are losing their sense of direction due to the effects of pesticides. So Tim will be on stage with his incredible saxophone, and then throughout the hall of TCU Place, there'll be 6 other saxophone players, the other birds of his flock, who also lose their sense of direction and are unable to migrate home together. It's going to be an incredible adventure.
That sounds absolutely stunning. Wow. I can't wait for that too. It's always amazing to be in a room where the music really is all around you.
Yeah.
And then after that, we move on to Holiday Pops with the Grinch. That's on December 9th. We have a lot of fun with our Christmas pop shows, I think.
We really do.
There will probably be an ugly sweater contest. I think that's considered standard now. So watch our social media for that. What do you have lined up for us for Holiday Pops?
So a few years ago, it was it 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, we actually did the Grinch, the music of the Grinch, with Gary Gable. And Gary, of course, has been a professor at the University of Saskatchewan for many years now. He's one of those longtime figures here in the Saskatchewan music scene. And being able to let Gary narrate and sing the Grinch was one of my favorite things that I've ever produced, because he owned this part so well. He just loved the concept of being this great storyteller on stage. So much of what we do is telling stories, and the Grinch is such a great one to tell at the holidays. And so we haven't been able to do it with him since. So this is an excellent opportunity. And because it was Gary, we actually are really thrilled. One of his closest and dearest friends, Rosemary Thompson, is going to be making her SSO debut. She is a legend in Canadian music and has been the music director at the Okanagan Symphony for a very long time. And we're thrilled to have her. Now, there is going to be other stuff, obviously. The Grinch, is there, but and there'll be some special guests, maybe some surprise guests. There'll be maybe some guests in the form of a choir. Who knows?
Perhaps. We might know a few of those.
We always like to throw in something special to this holiday pops, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
But we also always have to have sleigh ride. I think it's very important for that.
We always close with sleigh ride. In fact, the one year in my time at the SSO, there's one season where we did not do a Christmas festival and sleigh ride, and I heard you in the lobby because many people came up to me and went, "Where was sleigh ride?" So we're thrilled to make sure that that's always a part of it. We didn't get to do it this year with Muppets Christmas Carol, so we get to bring it back this fall.
That's true. And then we keep the holiday theme going with one of my favorite parts of the year by doing Handel's Messiah. This year it's on Friday, December 15th. And it's mostly repeat guests from last season, but not quite. We have Cosette Busto Valdez at the podium again. She did her first Messiah last season, correct? And now she's back with us again.
Yeah, it was her very first Messiah. And the second that I watched Cosette do a rehearsal with the choir, I knew something special was happening. She had told me that Messiah was among the most important music to her artistically, and that shone through. Everyone in that room knew that to rip off a line from Messiah, "We shall all be changed." It was a spectacular performance of Messiah, the likes of which I hadn't really heard. I mean, taking those original Baroque tempi, but not in a Baroque style, giving a very modern sound to the strings. It was a very thick, juicy sound.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, we do it, of course, on the Friday night. Saturday afternoon, we do the sing-along Messiah, which is the staff's favorite day of the year because we get to watch people sing along and be filled with joy. But one of the things I'm always grateful. Yes. One of the things that I'm always grateful for is that, Saskatchewan has such a wealth of vocal talent. I don't know whether it's the big skies or something in the water, but there are such incredible vocalists who come from here. So, Casey Peaton is making her SSO Messiah debut. She's been on the stage with us as soloist in many things, from Vivaldi Gloria to last year's work by Mariana Martinez. And Ollie Gazelle, Spencer McKnight, and Brendan Friesen are all back to be soloists. And of course, the real showstopper, not only the SSO Orchestra, but the SSO Chorus with Duff Workington conducting it. And I mean, if you didn't get to see Messiah this year, you get a chance to, and do not rest on this, because it was a show-stopping performance. When the choir, there was a number of movements that the choir sang from memory, and it was amongst the most incredible music making I've seen in Saskatoon. And it's special this year because this Christmas is actually the 110th anniversary of the very first Messiah in Saskatoon.
Wow, what a tradition. That's absolutely fabulous. And if you come to the sing-along, you'll also get the experience of being conducted by Duff as he conducts the choral movements, which gives you a bit of an insight of what he's like at rehearsals. He's a ton of fun, but he gets a great sound out of everybody.
He does, and that sing-along really is the most joyful day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those events that people sleep on because they think, "Oh, I'm not a singer, I can't do that." Come sing, don't sing, whatever you'd like. I mean, it's one of the most incredible participatory music making experiences that you can have, because no one is there to worry about if all the notes got sung. It's just this sense of joy and experience. So.
Yeah, people love it. And if you get lost at some point, the person next to you will just point to where you need to be. It's a great community experience for sure.
Yeah.
And then we move into January, and January is always a little hard here. It's cold, the days are short, the nights are long, and we always need a little pick-me-up. So this year on January 27th, which is my birthday, we are going to be doing a Disney film. an in-concert live to film. We've done a few of these now. People are excited. So we're doing a family movie night that we hope you'll come to. Yeah.
We are. Now, we've got a bigger announcement coming about this in the weeks ahead. But as you were saying, Megan, it is the middle of January. It is very cold. So we can't really announce anything just yet, but we might be taking you to sing along with some animals in Africa.
Maybe. Not that we're saying anything. Yeah. Then we move into February. So February 10th, we've got the Roaring Twenties. So this concert's fascinating to me because often when we start our process together of putting together season launch, not all of the concerts have names yet. There's still some moving pieces, but this one you had Roaring Twenties. That was the one you definitely had a title down for. So what brought you to Roaring Twenties and where do we go from there?
You know, when you think about the 1920s, people talk about it being the Roaring Twenties. The Roaring Twenties didn't roar until about 1924 or 1925. They were getting over a pandemic. Who
Seems
knows
familiar,
what that's like?
yeah.
Yeah, they had been dealing with some international conflicts. And it took some time for the 20s to feel like they were time to celebrate coming out of some hardships. And so in the 1920s, we see the middle of the 1920s kind of become this burst of incredible music. And the reason why this one stuck was because it is almost precisely the 100th anniversary of the premiere of George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. And so we're going to be performing that with Daniel Clark Bouchard. We have a little video of Dan. He is, I believe he's 22 years old, from Montreal. And this is him collaborating with the great Misha Berger-Gospel.
Wow. Daniel's been performing for a long time, right?
He got famous when he was 9, and he was a regular guest on the Ellen Show.
Okay.
And he is spending most of his time nowadays actually studying and focusing on classical music. But in those early days, he actually studied jazz with the great Oliver Jones. So he's done a lot of work in the jazz idiom. And so Rhapsody in Blue was the perfect melding of worlds for him. And he's joined by Melanie Leonard, who's returning after many years. She was first here, gosh, I think it was 2016 on our podium. And we try to have Melanie back every single season. And as happens, you sort of juggle and try to get people on the podium and at the right time. And it's not, and it has never worked scheduling wise for Melanie. So we're thrilled
She's
to have
busy,
her back.
yeah.
She's always busy. And she's paired an incredible concert with it. So it features not only the Rhapsody in Blue, but also Gershwin's American in Paris.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and an incredible symphony by Samuel Coleridge Taylor. Coleridge Taylor was one of the great Black composers, and his music is sort of having a new renaissance. We're thrilled to be able to give his Afro-American symphony a first Saskatoon performance. It's an incredible work that I can't wait. You know, people are going to come for the Gershwin, because who doesn't love Rhapsody in Blue? And you know, once you hear American in Paris, you're all going to be singing Everybody Knows It's Slinky, but because that's where that theme song came from. But the Coleridge Taylor piece is stunning, and that's what people will remember long after this concert is over.
That's definitely the one they'll be talking about on the way out the door. Yeah. I feel like you have a very good track record of programming pieces that are having a renaissance or pieces that need to be brought to life. So it'll be very exciting to hear one of those works that just doesn't get its due.
Yeah.
And then we switch gears, I would say almost completely, we moved to Constantinople on February 25th. And we had Constantinople here, was it 2 years ago now, a year and a half?
It was the fall of 2021.
Right, yes.
And I have been fascinated by their music for years. And so that was our first chance bringing them out here. And when the chance arose again, this was too good to pass up. This particular concert is called From Seville to Isfahan. And it actually kind of focuses around 15th and 16th century Spanish music. It was the golden age of Spanish music, but it was also the golden age of Persian and Central Asian music. So Constantinople is a Persian Baroque group, and they're teaming up with Accademia del Piacere, and who focus on Spanish music to bring us something like this.
Ooh, that one gave me goosebumps.
Right? It's going to be incredible.
That's amazing. I also love that Constantinople is just that group is such a collaborative group. They constantly have different people coming in and out and do some incredible projects.
And incredible ideas and projects, like you say, they are music makers at heart. I remember the first time I saw them perform. I was at a conference in Europe, even though they are Canadian. So that's how often Canadian musicians see each other is at conferences elsewhere. And I remember watching them perform and taking note of the fact that they were filled with such joy in their music making, and it comes through, you can tell.
Definitely. Well, then we have another really incredible collaborator, at least I think. Kenan Azmi comes to join us, and that is on March 2nd at TCU Place.
The first time I heard Kenan perform, I was kind of spellbound. And I had the opportunity to actually see him again a year or two later, where he collaborated with Dinuk Gujaratni, who's actually here this week to conduct the SSO. Dinuk has written a lot of music for Kenan. Kenan is considered, he's one of the most fascinating artists alive today. He is multifaceted. He leaves a lasting impression. He's hailed as being intensely soulful and one of the great virtuosos for the clarinet. We have a little interview here that explains the magic that is Kenan. On top of being such a brilliant artist, Kenan has a fascinating story.
Playing music has become the main tool for me to express myself. And it's quite amazing when you play in front of an audience. For me, it's like you're standing on the top of a mountain sharing with strangers your most intimate secrets. And there's something very empowering in that. As a Syrian, I was not able to write any music for a whole year between 2011 and 2012. That's when the Syrian uprising began. Because I felt I was experiencing emotions that were by far more complex than what I was able to express with music. Then after a year of being silent, I reminded myself that making music is also an act of freedom. And if the whole uprising in Syria began because people wanted to express their opinion, then I have a tool through which I can express my own opinion. We had a mini performance with the Silk Road Ensemble, I joined the ensemble about 5 years ago. In music, language is never a barrier. Even within the same community, everybody's an individual, you know? Once you embrace how individual everybody is, then the cultural differences do not matter anymore. We're all meant to interact. That's what humans do anyway. So that's how I see things overlap between being a Syrian, being in New York, but also feeling that the whole world is a home. I'm born in Damascus, Syria, studied music and electrical engineering. I got my master's from the Juilliard School, and then I did my doctorate at the City University of New York. And then the city sucked me in, like it does to lots of people. I lead 2 bands, and I tour as a soloist and then as a composer, and also as a member of the Silk Road Ensemble. Home is the place you feel you want to contribute to without having to justify it. For me, that's a real definition of home. Home for me has always been Syria. I've been here for 16 years. The first time I felt at home, away from home, it was a very tricky feeling. I remember I was invited to a Thanksgiving dinner, and part of me felt guilty. You know, like, am I supposed to feel this way or am I not? Am I betraying my original home if I feel at home elsewhere? But then you realize, actually, it's great if you feel at home in a variety of places. That's a much better idea than saying, you know what, this is home and everything else is out of my comfort zone.
Without a doubt, Keenan is going to be the most memorable performance next year. You know, when I the opening of at the Idea of North concert, when I said, you know, this performance with Jan Leszecki is a landmark performance for the SSO. Next year with Keenan is a landmark performance. I know he's not you know, he's not heard on radio as often as someone like James Ennis or Jan Leszecki is here, but Keenan is one of the greatest artists alive today. It is a major event for us to have him, and he's actually going to be performing his own music with us. He's performing his suite for improviser and orchestra. So the orchestral parts are all written out, but on the clarinet he improvises the entire thing, and it's going to be spellbinding.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, I keep saying I'm looking forward to it, but I am really looking forward to all of these. And, you know, I guess that would be a hard concert to conduct. So you can't just have anybody on the podium for that one.
Yeah, and so Cosette Husa Valdez is back for that. You know, when she was here for these concerts this year, we really found a groove and wanted to explore that. She is a fascinating collaborator with jazz artists, with improvisers. She does a lot of work with the jazz bassist Esmeralda Spalding. And so we're really excited that she's here for that. And we have a few announcements about that concert still to come. So the rest of the repertoire is we're just securing something. So there's some time still, but if it all works out, it's going to be such an incredible night.
Yeah, that's just going to be so special. And then our next concert is special, but for very different reasons. So on March 23rd, we have our Sask celebration. And you alluded to earlier, there's something in the water here. There is something really special about Saskatchewan artists, and tell us how you're going to showcase them in our Sask celebration.
Well, we showcase 4 incredible Saskatchewan artists. Now, Veronique Mathieu, the artist in front of you now, she's an import. Of course, Veronique's originally from Quebec, but she's here in her role as the David Kaplan Chair of Music, and such an incredible violinist and a phenomenal teacher. So we really wanted to be able to have her on stage, where she's going to be doing the Sibelius Violin Concerto, which is, you know, if you're a diehard violin concerto fan, it's been a long time since that's been on stage with us. I think Michael Swan did it last with us, so it was a while ago now, and so we're thrilled to be able to have her do that. On the podium for the night is William Rowson. Bill grew up here in Saskatoon, played in the youth orchestra, played in the SSO, has conducted us a lot over these last few years. So we're thrilled to have him back leading this kind of, it's a big night, because on top of Sibelius Violin Concerto, in the second half of the concert, we're doing the Prokofiev third piano concerto with Godwin Friesen. So of course, Godwin grew up here in Saskatoon. We've had him on stage with us before, but this past fall, Godwin won the Orchestre Symphonique de Montréal concerto competition, performing the Prokofiev Third Concerto, and so we'd already been talking about it, and so it was a perfect timing to bring him in. We open that night actually with a brand new piece by Saskatoon composer Andrew Kessler. Andrew is part of the group Accent, who we had on stage with us a few years ago, and on top of his vocal jazz stylings, he also accidentally happens to be a composer and brilliant keyboard player and guitar player and bass player, and like I'm not sure there isn't anything Andrew can't do. I'm sure he could probably knit well too. Like he's just that multifaceted.
He probably
brilliant.
Juggles or something. Who knows? Yeah,
I'm certain. Yeah, and so he's written a brand new piece called "Sweet for the Prairies," which is how we open that night. So it's gonna be really cool.
That's great, and I believe that one will have the youth orchestra with us as well. Is that correct?
It has the youth orchestra to perform Andrew's piece. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be special also for William Rowson, just to conduct the orchestra he used to play in on top of everything else. Then we go to another special anniversary concert. We have a lot of anniversaries this upcoming season. So we're doing Bach's Johannes Passion, and that's on April 7th.
Yeah. The St. John's Passion, was one of the landmark works of all music, not just classical music, all music. And it actually premiered 300 years to the day that we're going to be performing it on April 7th next season. Wow. So I know, 1724, April 7th. It's fascinating. Duff Workington, who's our choral conductor of the SSO chorus, is such a Bach lover, and so over the last few years we've peppered Bach into things, and we have been talking about, do we do the Passion? It's coming up. The anniversaries are coming up. First St. John Passion, then St. Matthew's Passion a few years later, and it became so obvious that we had to celebrate it, and it all sort of started falling together when conductor Leslie Dalla and I were having a conversation one day, and he said, late March of 2024, I'm doing the St. John Passion with the Vancouver Bach Choir, which he's artistic director of. And I said, well, do you want to fly out to Saskatoon the day after you do it in Vancouver and do it again? And he went, yes. The opportunity for a conductor to do two cycles of the John Passion back to back is incredible. The music is so arresting and still so fresh. It still makes us anxious, and I mean that's what Bach was going for. He was trying to capture the urgency that of the Passion of St. John. Whether you're Christian or not, this music is so profound in the depth of what music really is and the complexity that is Bach. We're going to be announcing its full lineup later this summer, but it's going to be a major concert next season. It's never been done in its entirety here in Saskatoon. It's been done with choir, soloists, and piano, but never with orchestra. And so this was celebrating a 300th anniversary was too good to pass up.
Well, I'm sure choral lovers and music lovers also will just really enjoy this experience. Yeah. Then we have a bit of another Sask celebration. Our next concert on April 20th is YXE Divas. And this is a concert I feel like you've been talking about. I've been at the Symphony for 6 years now, and we've talked about this every year. And it's finally happening. Yeah, I remember, for those of us who are old enough to remember the 90s, and to have been young enough to remember VH1, it's a clarifier, right? Lots of people remember the 1990s, but do you remember VH1? It was a TV station, much like MTV or Much Music. They played all sorts of music videos, but then sort of didn't play music videos anymore at all. But they had this lineup called Divas Live, and they did it from Vegas and they did it from LA, and each time they did it, it was sort of showcasing these great pop divas, and it was everyone from Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Celine Dion, Gloria Estefan, Mariah Carey. I mean, they ran the gamut, and I country artists, jazz artists. I mean, they just showcased the female voice in its absolute finest. So that this was an idea that actually came up because there's all these incredible female pop vocalists here in Saskatoon that we had to showcase. So
the concert includes some people who actually have been on stage with us, lots who haven't. So Eileen Laverty, who's done some stuff with us, Ellen Nasser, who did Christmas with us a few years ago, Madison McLean, who's actually been on stage with us when we've worked with the Fireside Singers, and that show's coming up in a few weeks as well. We also have Lindsay Knight, Equal, the rapper. We have Fallon Baptiste, who collaborated with us a few seasons ago. These are incredible artists that we're so thrilled to showcase. And one of them that we're going to be showcasing that night is Elise Evangelista. And Elise grew up here in Saskatoon, moved away, studied, did all sorts of performing, is actually back here in Saskatoon. And I said to Elise, we have to get you on stage. We're going to give you a little preview of what Elise will bring to the stage.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear and there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I know that from the moment that we met, there's no doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
Oh, it's going to be incredible.
Oh, that's stunning. Wow.
Right. And each of the artists, they do one of their own songs, whether it's an original or whether it's a cover they're used to doing there. And then we're starting to do duos, trios, team ups of people to create something new. When I started reaching out to every one of these incredible artists, it was so incredible to hear the excitement about it. And we're an orchestra, so we're going to throw in, of course, some classical stuff to the mix and have one of YXE's best divas, Katja Cardova, on stage with us. Katrina we've worked with her. She was in our La Dolce Vita concert during the pandemic, which is still, I think, our biggest streamed concert ever. That it's so exciting to be able to collide all of these incredible artists center stage with a YXE diva on the podium too, because Jana Saylor is going to be back for that incredible performance leading that. And I cannot wait to see the fun that all of these artists have on stage. It is going to be a ridiculous weekend.
Oh, yes. And also, I have to say, I'm excited for the outfits because I know there are going to be some spectacular outfits to go with those spectacular voices on stage. Yeah. There are still
I've already been asked by Jana, can I wear at least two things? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I still get comments from people like, I loved Jana's outfit the last time she was here. So yeah, she looks good. Yeah. She conducts great. It'll be a fun night. She knows what she's doing up there. Yeah. Yeah. And then we move to Saturday, May 4th. We have Beethoven 9 at 200. And this one is special because not only is it an anniversary, but originally when we had talked about this concert, you wanted to call it the People's Ninth. Now, why would you want to call it that?
So, typically when we do Beethoven 9, we're working with one or two choirs. And one of the things that I have become really fascinated with is the idea of music for all, music that is a participatory nature. And, a lot of us feel like as classical musicians, Megan, you're a trained musician, we sort of are the indoctrinated. We already know the music, we learn these things, we know all the techniques, etc. And so I actually reached out to Jennifer Lang, who's the professor of choral studies at the University of Saskatchewan. Of course, we collaborate with her with Greystone Singers and Aurora Vace, and said, I want singers from your choirs, but I also want singers from across the region, across the province. And so we're actually later this spring, we're going to be reaching out to choirs across the province and saying, come sing Beethoven's Ninth with us. Now, Karen on our staff, Karen Reno, who is our director of operations, I mean, her eyes just kept getting bigger the more I kept talking about this, because like, where are we going to put all these people? So we'll have to have some rules and limits. We'll figure those out. But it is going to bring people together for a day. And Maestro Judith Yan is back on the podium. Judith, this will be her 4th season doing kind of being a collaborative partner on stage with us. And Beethoven 9 is her jam. She absolutely loves it. And when I said to her, we may not have a prepared choir, it might be a mass choir where some people, are choral singers, and some people have just been dying to try to just have this as part of their it's it is the 200th anniversary. This is the most important piece of music maybe ever. I mean, the Ode to Joy melody is undoubtedly the most recognizable melody ever written, and so being able to put as many people on stage for this is really special. We have an incredible lineup of soloists. Not all we're announcing yet. We've got some announcements later to come, but one of them is Julie Nesralla, and I'm really excited. Next May is essentially Julie Nesralla month here at the SSO.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love Julie. She is what is it? The girl in the chair with the big hair, the chair, CBC radio. She is, I think for a lot of people, the voice of classical music in Canada, not only as a singer, but just as how she educates us and shares with us. And last May, we were very fortunate to have her come do a special concert for some of our patrons. And that kind of snowballed, because then in the fall, we recorded an album with her. And then now we're going to do a concert for everybody. So
yeah, this was an idea. Julie and I have been really good friends for over a decade, and had never actually worked together. I am very privileged as a collaborative pianist and as a producer. I've gotten to work with a lot of my friends and become friends with a lot of the people I get to work with. Julie and I had not yet worked together. I've had this idea though in the back of my head to get her out of her classical idiom and into something a little bit jazzier. So I pitched this idea of torch songs, and we brought Saskatoon's Paul Sukin on. Paul is an incredible composer right here in town, and said to Paul, these are Julie's favorite songs in the idiom of torch songs. Can you create something for us? And Paul went away and created these little musical masterpieces that, yes, they're jazz, but they incorporate, there's moments of Prokofiev, there's moments of Sibelius, little quotes for the classical music fans in Julie's world. We then, went into the studio, recorded it, which was a very cool process. Jana Saylor was involved in both the original and then the recording, and is back on stage with us for this. This is a little taster from when we did it last spring, and it was just so much fun.
Romeo loved Juliet. Juliet, she felt the same. When he put his arms around her, he said, "Oh, Julie, baby, you're my flame. Thou givest fever. Love me and leave me in luxury's lap. Hop when I holler, skip when I snap. When I say do it, jump to it. Bésame mucho. Love me forever and make all my dreams come true."
I'm so thrilled that we get to actually share this with a bigger audience. And on top of, the album comes out later in 2023. On top of this performance, Jana and Julie are actually touring this show across Canada with multiple orchestras over the next year. So when it finally gets back on stage here in Saskatoon, it's going to be quite the celebration of an incredible year for them and for us bringing this show to life. I'm really proud of a show like this. We have the last few years been really focused on the idea of creation and artistic creation, and from that Joni Mitchell show to the work we did with Accent to bring that show to life, the work we've done with people like Ellen Nasser and Eileen Laverty and Jeffrey Straker, and to be able to bring these ideas to life in Saskatoon is really special, and it speaks volumes about how incredible the orchestra is. We are so lucky to have musicians like this in our community who make this a better place to live. And it speaks volumes about our audience, because we get to do these incredibly strange and creative things that they love, and it's so much fun to share it with people.
Yeah, and they keep coming back. We love hearing from our audiences. We always get such great messages on social media, in person, over email, phone calls. We love all the great joy people get from sharing music with us, and we feel the same. For the people who did watch the show with Julie and who have seen the concert film on concertstream.tv, just a little plug there to our streaming platform, the concert that we're going to have next May is not the same. So there'll be new stuff in there.
No. Yeah, there's quite a bit of new music. There's one song in particular that I cannot wait for people to hear. Julie was trying to pick out the rest of the songs to add to an album and flesh out a few things and change around a few things. And she was kind of stumped. We needed one more up-tempo ditty, and I just had my phone, which I often joke on my radio show that I'm a musical carnivore. I consume pretty much everything from 16th century Spanish music with Constantinople all the way to like brand new rap and R&B. And I had this song come on. I don't know that I'd ever actually stopped and listened to it before. It's up tempo, it's hilarious, and it is Julie, and actually the album is actually going to be named after it. So we're thrilled that actually we get to share this whole new adventure.
That is fabulous. And that is going to be just an incredible season. I mean, we still have some great concerts coming this season, but you can start buying for season 93 now. We actually have an early bird deadline of May 1st this year. So if you subscribe before May 1st, you're going to be entered in to win an iPad 10. You also get the benefit of having discount ticket packages, and we have some people who are very attached to their seats. So we'll make sure that you get your seat, because people who come to our concerts at TCU know where they like to sit. And not everyone agrees on where the best sound is, but everyone has their opinion on where their favorite spot is. So the best way to subscribe, honestly, is just to go to our website, saskatoonsymphony.org. If you click on the big banner that says season 93, it'll take you to a page that shows you all of the pieces we've talked about today. There's a Google form where you can fill out which pieces you want, and then our wonderful office staff, Talant, will get back to you. He's not only does he work in our office, he plays in the orchestra, so he's also very talented. Or you can give us a call. Our phone number is 306-665-6414. And yeah, you only need to pick 4 shows to have a subscription package. That's the starting point. But you could make a subscription package with everything in it. And I'm biased, but I think you should. There's going to be so much great stuff coming starting next fall. So we really look forward to having everybody in the room with us again. I think coming out of our COVID season, where we were streaming only, to being back having an audience in the room has been a big feelings for us. It's been really special to have those experiences again. But we kept streaming as well. Yeah, those big emotions. It really is been really emotional to see everyone's faces again and have new faces. And I think since we've been streaming, we've also had a lot of people who have come to us in person for the first time. And we know that our concerts are for everyone. You don't need to know anything about classical music to enjoy our concerts, but if you want to get your foot in the door, we're on concertstream.tv. and you can take a peek at some of the things we do and figure out that you like it all for yourself. So yeah, well, thank you, Mark, for taking the time to chat with me today, because there's a lot of stuff to go through, and we're at an hour, so I guess that's all, unless there's any parting messages you want to give to us today.
No, I think it's, I mean, I often see people who come to the symphony, the sense of community that you feel when you wander through the audience and meet people who are there for the first time, meet people who have been subscribing since the 1960s. One of the recent concerts had a couple come up to me. They started subscribing in the early 1960s, and just after their first few months of dating, and have been together ever since, and have been in those seats since 1968 when that all opened. So it's such an incredible place where everyone from all walks of life in Saskatoon can come, and if you're not able to come in person, I mean, streaming isn't just about getting to watch from home. It's about making music accessible to everyone, and even if you can't afford the subscription, of course, throughout the year we do our summer festival in August, where all of our films from this year are going to be available for free viewing. So we're really thrilled to be able to share music with as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's the best part about working for the Saskatoon Symphony, for sure. Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone for watching live, and everyone who's going to be watching later. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.